Hey, welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse. Today we're going to talk a little Matthew Sweet. In fact, we're going to do like an album ranking. And my guest today, I don't want to say he's a guest, but my co-pilot today is Todd Evans. You may have seen Todd before. It's been on the Contrarians many times, but Todd is also a Matthew Sweet fan. And I mean, he and I have been following Matthew Sweet for a long time. So what we're going to do is do a little discussion on the Matthew Sweet discography. I hope you find this interesting. You may find this a little surprising the way the rankings come out, but I would like to say on my end that I think all these albums are 4-star records. There might be just a little bit of nitpicking on these records that you may see an album that may end up lower on the list, but that does not mean that I don't like it. I mean, Matthew Sweet as an artist he's one of my, well, I would have to say my top, he would be my favorite solo artist of all time. I mean, Todd and I can talk about it as we keep going, but I'm going to give it to Todd right now. Let him start out with we're doing 15 records. Is that what it is?
That's correct. 15.
We're not including the Susanna Hoff records. We're just talking Matthew Sweet solo albums.
And no EPs.
No EPs, even though what we plan to do later is a show on our favorite songs. Now, I guarantee you on that show, there will be songs off of those EPs because Matthew Sweet is one of those artists that his I don't want to say they're throwaways, but there'll be songs on the EPs that I think that should have been on the main release because those songs are just absolutely stunning. I'm not sure why they never got on. I'm talking like there's a lot of stuff from oh gosh, all of his records. He's done a lot of soundtrack work too. So we'll be looking at that down the road. But today we're just looking at the albums. So I'm going to turn it over to Todd, and Todd, run with
Okay.
it.
So hopefully my number 15 choice doesn't get me kicked off the channel.
Well, mine might. I'll tell you that.
Like Grant said, I like all these albums, but I had a really hard time with this one when it came out. My number 15 is Modern Art. And I feel like, and this is a good time for me to discuss one of my very few issues with Matthew Sweet, in that when he got into the 2000s and he stopped having big name producers, he has a little bit of trouble with energy, and so some of his power pop doesn't have enough power.
I totally get what you're saying.
And I feel that way about this record. I feel like it starts out okay, but by track 4, 5, and 6, when Love Let's Go, I'm Falling, Ladyfingers, and A Little Death, it just kind of falls apart there for me. And Late Nights with the Power Pop doesn't really sound like power pop. It doesn't have to. I mean, that's not necessarily the point of the song, but I don't like My Ass Is Grass. I don't think that's a very good track, but I think the last 2 tracks, Modern Art and Sleeping, and especially Modern Art, kind of save it. And it's a really interesting record. It was made with a core band, but Fred Armisen plays drums on the second track, Ivory Tower, instead of Rick Menck. But that song's kind of a mess. It's not very well engineered, and so, She Walks the Night is a really good song, could have been a hit single, but it's slow to start, and I'm not sure why he made that decision. But this is probably the album that has the worst issue with not having enough energy where it needs to have some energy. And so artistically, some of the slower songs and some of the more complicated songs are actually quite good. But this is my number 15.
I think that's a good one. Well, I rated this higher, but I do agree with you. Once Matthew Sweet I guess he finished up his contract with Zoo, which was bought up by Volcano. That's when he started engineering everything. And I mean, for his home studio, I mean, it's fine, not a problem. But I do prefer the stuff that when, we had Brendan O'Brien or we had, big name producers. I like that better.
Fred Mayer, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, another thing about it is that you could kind of hear him, and he's gotten better at this. And I feel like some of the
I
later
agree.
albums are a little better, but you can hear him trying to do that layered vocal thing, and it's not quite all there, but you can hear him trying. And sometimes
Because
he nails it, and sometimes it just feels like it needs a little more polish.
because everything after Earth, Girlfriend was the blueprint.
Yeah.
So everything after Girlfriend, there's a certain tonality that everything follows.
Yeah.
I totally get what you're saying. Yep. Well, my number 15, you're not going to like this. But like I said in the opening, this is still a 4-star album, but there's problems with it that drive me crazy and I can't really listen to it. I'm not saying that the songwriting's bad or anything, but it desperately needs remastered because there's no bottom end on the recording. It's all top end. It just sounds real thin. And a record like this should sound very majestic and full, but this doesn't. So my number 15 is In Reverse. Believe it or
not really.
But I was listening to it, and I've always had a problem with this record because it sounds so thin.
But Thunderstorm.
It's still a 4-star album, Todd. Still a 4-star.
And one go ahead. I have some things to say about the sound quality, but I'll wait till you're done.
Even though it sounds majestic and there's a lot of reverb, it sounds very Brian Wilson Pet Sounds. It sounds very Phil Spector. I appreciate that. Well, kind of not. If I want to listen to Matthew Sweet, I want to listen to upfront, no reverb, balls to the wall, just power pop pure. And I understand this was like the last record on the Volcano. He didn't re-sign with them. I mean, this album didn't sell for shit. But I appreciate the creativity. I just can't stand the sound of it. It desperately needs remastered. And because of that, I rank it last because it just sounds so tinny. I don't have a problem with the material, but I mean, it's not as catchy as what came before. You could argue. Go ahead, jump in.
No, I'm actually going to agree with you.
What I want to do is have a rapport.
I'm going to agree with you about something about the sound quality. And my issues are not with the sound quality of the entire album. My issues with this album, it's really my only issue, is that the sound quality is inconsistent. It doesn't have its own sound. And there's one song in particular, I believe it is Beware My Love, track 3, that the drums sound like somebody's hitting a piece of paper with a pencil. I mean,
I know there's some drums on
really
there.
thin, but the others are better. So, and that's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing because I like albums to have their own consistent sound.
Right.
And so
there's some songs on this record that really have that big, I'm not saying it's that gated drum sound like Genesis, but it's real big. It's kind of like that Pet Sounds kind of, what song on Pet Sounds am I trying to strive for? But there's like this one song, I won't be able to come with it, but I know what he's trying to do on this record.
Well, it's Phil Spector, which I normally don't like, but in this case, he actually had the Wrecking Crew. I mean, he had Carol Kane on bass. And there's some of that, there's like the castanets and the drum sound and stuff like that. It's an acquired taste.
I mean, I totally appreciate it. But the fact that it needs remastered so badly. I don't know who mastered this, but it's
got 3 producers. Jim Scott, Fred Mayer, 4. Jim Scott, Fred Mayer, Greg Leitz, and Matthew Sweet.
Yeah. I don't know who mastered it, though.
It doesn't have Brendan O'Brien, and we'll talk more about that later.
Okay. So, but that's the only reason I rate that at the 15. Well, it's okay. It's not, it's my least favorite. But it's the material strong. I just can't stand the sound of it. Everything's got a line, everything's just got to line up. And that's the problem I have with it.
I get that. All right.
Let's hear your number 14.
So my number 14 is Inside from 1986.
Oh boy.
Let's see. How should I start this? One of the things that I don't like about this record is it has 5 producers, I think, and there are a lot of big names. Scott Litt from REM, David Kane, I think it's Kahne. Has done a lot of things I can't recall who. Stephen Hague, who's produced OMD and New Order.
Jules and the Polar Bears. He's done all that stuff.
Yeah. Dave Allen, who's produced The Cure. And there's a song on here that's produced by Dave Allen, and it sounds like a Dave Allen production, but it's got like female backing vocals in it, and it just stand out just really bad.
In fact, that track, I must say, Todd, that track kind of stands out from all the rest of them.
Yeah,
it doesn't really.
I think it's
fit
Catch
in.
Your Breath.
Yes.
Yeah.
Doesn't really fit in.
No, it doesn't. But I will say, and I want to mention too, one of the songs is produced, is it 1 or 2? One of them is produced by Alan Tarney, who I think is best known for producing Aha. And boy, does that song sound like Aha. And so it feels like whoever he was working with put their own stamp on it. But
I think with that record, though, I don't think they knew what to do with it.
I don't either. But the songcraft is there.
Mm-hmm.
Considering how young he was. I started listening to Matthew Sweet. My brother-in-law bought me Girlfriend, and I had no interest, and I had no idea who he was. And my first wife, who I met like maybe a year after that, it was the year it came out is when I got it in 93. And my first wife loved Matthew Sweet, and we, for the entire time we were married, 10 years, we listened to Matthew Sweet all the time, almost every day. And she hated this album. But I don't think she gave it much of a chance. I don't know if she's going to watch this or not. I'm going to send her the link, but because I think she would enjoy the show. But Matthew Sweet came to Athens early. I mean, he came to Athens.
I think he graduated in '83, maybe, and just went straight to.
Yeah, and there were some people in Athens who kind of resented him, because they felt like, who's this guy from out of town? He's just coming here to kind of, grab onto our coattails and use us. And there was at the time, my ex-wife was a really big REM fan, and she was part of a REM, not news group, email digest. Like, you remember those things? And it was invitation only, and it was based in Athens. It was called Oddfellows. And so I
know exactly what you're talking about.
I was actually able to be on Oddfellows. And there were some people there who were musicians in Atlanta, and they used to tell us stories about, I don't like Matthew Sweet. He used to come and borrow microphones and not return them. And
he probably didn't have any money.
Right. But I think that Matthew Sweet, I think that it was probably obvious really early by the executives that signed him that he was really big in, and he's really a big talent, and he was going to go somewhere. But when you look at the pictures of him, it really looks like they don't know how to sell him.
They don't know what to do with it.
And there's another album where we'll talk more about that. I didn't want to go on too long about this.
No, you're good. We're good.
The songcraft is there, but there's no consistency on this record. It's all over the place. So that's my 14.
Yeah. Since you brought up how you came into contact with Matthew Sweet and all that, there was a radio station in Columbus, Ohio called CD 101. And I just remember Matthew Sweet was getting ready to play a show. He's going to play at Bogart's in Cincinnati.
I'd been there.
Okay. So this was the Girlfriend tour. They had him on the radio and did an interview, and they were playing tracks. And I'm sitting there listening to it going, holy shit. I was totally blown away. They played like I'll Be Waiting and Girlfriend, and I was just sitting there going, oh my God, this is like one of those moments where you hear an artist and go, it kind of like opens up your whole world, changes your whole world. This is what happened. So, I mean, we ended up getting tickets and going down to Bogart's, and it was me and a whole, no, it was a group of us. I had an old Volkswagen Vanagon. We loaded up the Vanagon and we went to Cincinnati, and we went to Skyline Chili, and we had some dinner, and Matthew Sweet, no shit, was sitting at the other table being interviewed by somebody before the show. I can't remember how much time there was in between, but by that time I was so hardcore that, I was trying to find everything I could find. And we're talking, this is 91, Todd. So yeah, you could find Girlfriend, but you could not find Inside. Inside was only released on vinyl. And at that point, well, Earth was released on CD and vinyl, cassette, blah, blah, blah. There's a whole nother story about that. I'll talk to it later. But I couldn't find anything. It's not like when the internet's around, you could just get on the internet and look for it and find it. Back then, it was like, you really had to look for it. Good luck if you find it,
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I just realized that Girlfriend did come out in 91, and I don't think I got it until 92 or 93.
Yeah.
So,
see, I saw him twice on the Girlfriend tour, because he played Bogart's the one time, and then he came up to Columbus and played the Alrosa Villa. Actually, he was supposed to play, I don't know if he was supposed to play Stashes. Either way, he sold more tickets than they could handle, so they moved him to a larger venue. So I saw him twice on the Girlfriend tour. I mean, I was hardcore.
I didn't see him until the In Reverse tour, but I saw him at the Troubadour in Los Angeles.
Oh my God,
So
the Troubadour, that would have been awesome.
I'm pretty sure there were probably some famous people there, because he was kind of the golden boy among them.
He was the golden boy then.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going with my number 4. Did we already do your other one?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, we're going on
14.
a tangent, but it's fine. My number 14 is Catspaw. Now, the only reason this is number 14 is that, though I like it, I think all the tracks pretty much are all very similar. I don't really see any tracks that particularly stand out. And that's not to say that I don't like it. I like it, but compared to what came before, and I know this record got great reviews. I mean,
it did.
All Music gave it 4 stars. Mojo gave it 4 stars. Uncut gave it 7 out of 10. That's great. But a lot of his later stuff got great reviews as well. So, but comparing to what came before, I mean, I like it, but I hate that I'm even being critical on any of these records, because there's really nothing to be critical about.
Well, I can agree with one thing in that there's a lot of sameness. There's not a lot of variation in the speed of the songs and the.
It's all the same tempo.
Yeah.
I said, there was nothing that really stood out. Like on the earlier records, there are things that just stand out, and you just sit there and just go, "Holy crap!" But you know what? You can't be 25 forever. You can't constantly produce. John Lennon said you only are 25 once, because they always said that John Lennon's best stuff was 1965. And like he said, well, I only can do it once. So it's true. But thinking about Matthew Sweet this far into his career and producing a record at this quality, I really can't complain. That's why I don't really like ranking it, because it's still a great record. But there are just some that came before that I really like.
Yeah. Well, I have it ranked higher than you, but I have similar issues with it. So
okay.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Up, you're next.
All right. So my number 13, I put these two early ones together, is Earth. And Earth really surprised me. I didn't hear this until very, very recently. So I never had this. So, because if you didn't get it in 89 or maybe a year or two after, you weren't going to get it because I've never seen, I've never had much luck being able to buy this. I knew it was out there. And
Yeah,
so,
that particular CD is the reissue of it.
mhm.
I think I bought that right after once Girlfriend was successful. They went back and re-released Inside and Earth, but the original pressing on it's on a DACD CD that came off that was pressed by Sony or Columbia or whatever back in the day. I've never seen one of those. The one that I have is an original pressing. See, I was going to have props, but I haven't used them yet. This one is, just to throw this out here for you fans.
Oh, okay.
This is yellow. This is a West German pressing of it on A&M, but this is
This
right.
is a USA.
Yeah, if that was an original, it would be on DACD. But
Okay.
this is an original West German because it was released over there. So this is the only thing I've been able to find. And when I saw it listed on eBay, I just bought it because, I'm such a big fan. So it's a sickness.
Well, this album, produced by Fred Mayer, I think this is the first time you see him.
Yeah.
He's worked with Matthew Sweet for a while,
The Shape of Things to Come.
Yeah. And Dave Allen, again, from The Cure, things like that. And Matthew Sweet. And it's funny. I really like this album. I think that the songcraft is great. I think it's very melodic. It's very keyboardy, which probably people that don't like that, but I like it. I like that about it. Mm-hmm. But when you listen to it, you look at the picture on the front and you listen to the music and you kind of think, who is this for? Like in 1989, who is this for? It's very poppy, and I don't use that as an insult, but it's very, I think they still didn't know what to do with him.
They still didn't, even though he went from Columbia to A&M, they still didn't. But at least they only had 2 producers on it.
Yeah.
They're narrowing, it's getting narrowed down. So that's good.
Right. So that's my number 13 from 1989.
All right. I rated that a little higher, but I have a little bit of more of a sentimental thing with that. All right. What are we on, 13?
Yep.
Uh-oh. Losing my prop. Number 13. And this one I might have rated it too high, but I don't know. And that would be Sunshine Lies. This is still in that murky area. See, Matthew Sweet's doing all the production. This came in 2008. This record got a lot of mixed reviews. All Music gave it 3.5. Pitchfork gave it a 5.5 out of 10.
Wow.
I mean, it's okay, but this is another one that I don't hate it, but comparing it to what came before, I just can't bring myself up to it. I mean, it's got Rick Menick on drums, Greg Lease on playing guitar and pedal steel. We've already got 2 people that were on Girlfriend. Ivan Julian on guitar, Richard Lloyd on guitar, Susanna Hoffs on it. It's got a great lineup, except I do not care for Ivan Julian at all. When I saw Matthew Sweet several times, he was like the guitar player on tour. And I've seen Matthew with Richard Lloyd, which is absolutely brilliant. But Ivan Julian, even though he played with Richard Hell and all that, I just can't stand him. No offense, Ivan, but he was like all over the place and totally did not play to the constructs of the song. He was just all over. He just drove me crazy. I
wonder if he played when I saw him, because I also saw him around that time. I've seen him twice.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been, oh gosh, you know what? It would have been earlier than that. It would have been 2005. So I
That
don't know
sounds
when he
about
started
right.
playing with him. Yeah, but I thought whoever was playing guitar with him was really sloppy.
He was
But
very sloppy.
this would be a good a time as any though to talk about Matthew Sweet live, and because I have an opinion about that. I think Matthew Sweet plays everything too fast and too loud.
And kind of sloppy.
Yeah, and kind of sloppy. And there's a lot of people that love that, and I get that. But I felt that way both times I saw him.
Yeah, I've seen him probably 2, 3, oh, maybe 6 or 7 times. Did see him once at Polaris in Columbus, a free show where they set up outside. And I can't remember who was playing, but it was free and it was outside and it was a beautiful day. It sounded, actually, that show sounded pretty good.
I would go see him again in a heartbeat because
Oh, yeah.
it's been a really long time.
I
So
always go see him if he comes through, but
yeah.
it's not the same as it used to be. Who knows when he'll come back through.
Well, I live in suburban Atlanta and his manager lives in Atlanta. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that for a while there, he was playing in Atlanta a lot, but I don't think he's been here in a long time.
But either way, the lineup on this album is great. But it's still kind of, I don't know. It's all kind of the same kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I when it comes up for me, I'll give you more on how
I mean, when we get up to like album 8, things really start taking off.
Right.
But I would still give this a 4-star review, but it's just hard to do when you know what happened before. I'll just leave it there.
And it was a long wait too.
It was a long wait.
It was a 4-year wait
mm-hmm.
since the album before it.
Yep.
And he teased it very early. I remember he teased it on MySpace. And I don't remember what 2 songs he put out early, but I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be like a return to form.
Well, that's what we were hoping.
And then the album came out and it was like, not quite.
Right. We only can capture lightning in a bottle
right
once or twice.
Right. Okay, we ready to move on?
We are ready. Next.
Okay, my number 12, and I don't have a prop for it because I didn't buy it when it came out, and now they're starting to get scarce. But my number 12 is Tomorrow's Daughter from 2018.
Okay.
The record that came from the same sessions as Tomorrow Forever and was released a year later.
One of the trilogy.
Yeah, one of the trilogy. I like it a lot. I actually think it's very lively and it kept my attention, and it flows pretty well. It's not too long, which there are a couple of his albums that border on being a little too long.
Yep.
And I don't really have that much to say about it. I feel like it's not quite as what's the word I'm looking for? It's not quite as complete as Tomorrow Forever. I think he picked the right songs to make the main release, but I thought it was good. I like it.
Fair enough. What number are we on?
That was 12 for me.
12. I guess this is 12. 12, I'm going to go with, and we talked about this before because I took the dog for a walk and I was playing it, and I was telling you before how much I think it really, like years ago, this record did not jive. If I listened to this in 96, I was going, oh. But now I listen to it, so much for the glare. Matthew Sweet Inside. I'm going to go with my number 12 on this. Though what you did say before, there's a lot of producers. Not all the tonality jives. It sounds very 1986 to some degree. And like you said, I don't think they knew what to do with him. But when I revisited this, there was something refreshing about it. There was something pure about it. I mean, Matthew, I think, sounds great. I like the songwriting. mean, he's got Jules Shear writing on this. He's got Paul Lazar. In fact, Paul Lazar is like on 3 tracks. But when it came out, it kind of got mixed reviews. All Music gave it 2.5. Rolling Stone Album Guide, which hates everything, gave it, I'll be damned, they gave it a 3.5, which isn't too bad from Rolling Stone.
No.
But I mean, it's an all-star cast. I believe Mike Campbell's on this.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Stamey, Scott Lilt, Don Dixon, Amy Mann singing on it.
Yeah, and that's one of the highlights. That track is really good.
Great track. So I look at it now. Did I like it at 96? Nah. Too close to the 80s, but I guess the 80s have grown on me a bit. So I put this at my number 12. If I was going to recommend anything, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this to anybody to start out. If you're like a completist, maybe, but Quiet Her's a great track. Blue Fools is a great track. I mean, there's not really a weak track. You just kind of have to look past that 80s production.
But I mean, he sounds good. His voice sounds good, and he sounds youthful.
Because he is.
Yeah, because he's really young.
Because he is. But yeah, I think it's a great record. I think it's probably aged better. I think it should get more props than it does.
I like it better now than I did in the 90s.
Exactly.
And the early 2000s. Yeah.
Yep. Not a bad album. Like I said, he's never put out a bad record. But, you know, I have to give him some props. At least they're trying to figure out what to do with him. It took 3 record labels before they figured out what to do.
And I think you have a little bit more background on this than I do, but It feels like with Earth, it feels like A&M almost instantly didn't want to keep him. I mean, do you get that impression?
Well, I forgot to pull some stuff. There's some other things I should have pulled. With Earth, they did a lot of promo items. In fact, I'm not going to get up and find it, but I've got an Earth promo where it's got like a photo and a write-up.
Okay.
But I was going to pull that to show it, but I'm not going to get up to do it. Trust me, I have it. But I do think that they did give him some push. A&M tried to produce it. I promote him, but I don't think they really knew what to do. I mean, there were some other promos that came out that's got it's got a demo of Girlfriend on it and Silent City. I don't know if you are familiar with
this. Oh yeah. Yeah, I've heard that.
Great song.
Yeah.
But they put out some promos, quite a few, and some CD promos. So
I guess I was wrong.
I think they were trying to I think they backed him more than Columbia did.
Well, it's staggering to me to think that he was signed to Columbia basically as an unknown. I mean, that's just amazing. Columbia wouldn't do that. Not only would Columbia not do that now, I don't think Columbia would have done that 20 years ago.
No, probably not. But anyway, that's my number 12. At least I think that's my number 12.
Okay. Well, my number 11 is from the same trilogy. It's Wicked System of Things. It's hard to say. From 2018. This was his Record Store Day only, vinyl only release. And I picked it up when it was new and put it back down and thought I'll get that later. And boy, that was a mistake.
That was a mistake.
But I like this album, and I like it better than Tomorrow's Daughter because I feel like it has more energy. It rocks a little more, and it feels like it's more. It sounds more live to me, and it might be because I'm listening to it from a cassette made from vinyl, and it could be that. But I liked it better than Tomorrow's Daughter, but not as much as Tomorrow Forever.
See, I ranked it. I'm going to rank it higher. I mean, I could talk about this when I hit it. I could see why you rank
it higher, yeah.
But that original album was supposed to be That was supposed to be a collaboration between Matthew Sweet and Cheap Trick.
Yeah, right. I read that.
They pulled out. So he took it and finished it up, but he was totally inspired by Cheap Trick, Shoes, and Raspberries. I don't know if you're familiar with the band Shoes.
Yeah.
That could be a whole other show that I would love to do. Let's keep that in mind if you like Shoes. So it's a whole power. I mean, this is hardcore power pop on this record. I ranked it much higher because it's one of those records that
it's one of his records that actually sounds like it's power pop from start to finish, like on purpose.
And he wrote all those songs really quickly, like within a week or something. Amazing. I would love to have heard Cheap Trick on this as a collaboration, but I will take what we have. I think it's terrible that this came out on Record Store Day. They only pressed 15,000 copies. 1,500.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I didn't think there were that many.
1,500. That's nothing. To find one of these in the wild would be, I would pull it. However, I have failed once again to show the public the record, but I have it. And I rate it much higher. So when we get to it, I've kind of already talked about it. And when we hit it, we'll just that's my number, whatever, and we'll go on.
Okay.
All right. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, no. Where are we at? What did
that was my number 11.
Okay. My number 11 is Tomorrow's Daughter. It's part of that trilogy. Those 3 records are all in that, this is 2018. Wicked System of Things is 2018. And Tomorrow Forever, 2017. They call this the trilogy. Again, I like the record. There's stuff on it that doesn't really stand out, but I still give it 4 stars. All Music gave it 3.5. Rolling Stone gave it 3.5. It's kind of like Tomorrow Forever Part 2. I don't know if these were songs that got rejected. I don't remember the story on it.
It doesn't sound like the songs are as ambitious as the Tomorrow Forever songs.
Right. I mean, like I said, it got favorable reviews, but I just don't think it's quite up to what came before. I keep saying that, but it is what it is. I would recommend this to somebody who was looking into it. If you saw it used in the bins, I would pick it up. I mean, like I said, he's never made a bad record. They're all worth having. It just depends upon what you like and, All right.
All right.
Over to you.
10. My number 10, the first of the trilogy. Tomorrow Forever from 2017.
Mm-hmm.
I like this album a lot. I feel like this album has 17 tracks. I feel like maybe it's a little too long.
A little bit long.
But it suffers a little bit from some of the songs sound like they should have a little bit more energy, a little bit more of a driving drum sound, and a little bit less of a kind of lazy drum sound.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that there are some amazing songs on it. I think Haunted is really spectacular, but it also kind of depresses me because I think a producer could have taken that song and made it into something really, really great.
Well, and Todd,
right now it's just good.
I totally agree with you because I think he really could benefit from a producer.
Yeah. Great cast on this. Rick Menck, Debbie Peterson, Gary Louris, Rod Argent, lots of interesting people playing on it. And it's good. I was hoping that it was going to be better than it turned out to be, but I wasn't disappointed in it. I always feel like I'm waiting for that one real comeback. And I feel like we only get
Well,
close.
we had that though, and we'll hit it later.
Okay, all
And
right.
I think you might know which one I'm talking about.
I think I might.
But it was absolutely a brilliant record, but we'll get there. And I'm ranking this the same as you.
Okay.
We're lining up on something.
So it's your number 10.
Yep.
Okay.
And what you said, I totally get. This was the album that he funded it through the Kickstart campaign, where
Which
he was
I was
trying to.
on.
Were you on that?
Uh-huh.
See, I didn't do that.
I wasn't on it. I don't know if did he print names on this? I don't think he did. I wasn't on it.
I don't have that
level.
version.
I was on it at a low level.
Well, yours could be different. I don't know. I bought this later. I might have bought it when it came out, but I didn't wait for the Kickstarter campaign. But again, this is another one of those records. It gets very similar reviews to Tomorrow's Daughter. It gets like 3.5, 7 out of 10. It's like everyone's waiting for that Girlfriend album. And I'm not saying Girlfriend's my favorite, but a lot of people consider that, the peak. Mm-hmm. And I think they're always comparing him to that. They're always waiting for that Girlfriend record. When Altered Beast came out, they were going, oh my God, this isn't Girlfriend, But I think this might suffer from the same thing because, like you said, he funded this through their Kickstarter. Okay, so Tomorrow Forever came out in 2017. Under the Covers came out in 2013. Okay, and Modern Art came out in 2011. Todd, so think about it. That's quite a gap between releases. I mean, I'd love to put Under the Covers in with these, but to me, I look at it. I mean, he's not writing any songs on these. I think they're great for what they are. And I think possibly we may want to look at the Undercover records on their own later. Mm-hmm. I think that might be fun. But we're not including those here. But so if you think 2011 to 2017, well, no wonder they were hoping for a big comeback.
Right.
You got the Kickstarter campaign, let's step this up.
I believe that this is the first record that he recorded at home in Omaha. I think it's the first one that he did that with. Because I don't think Modern Art was recorded there. Because I don't think he had moved there yet. Modern Art was recorded in Los Angeles. So he was still living in LA.
Okay.
So
yeah, but he had a studio at his
Omaha album.
Maybe can you look and see while we're talking about it?
What's that?
See if you can see on your CD what it says, because I know he still had a home studio then.
Oh, it says produced, engineered, and mixed by Matthew Sweet at Black Squirrel Submarine in Omaha. I
think all that started once he got off Volcano and Zoo. He started engineering his own stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, I understand he doesn't have the backing of a record label. You know what I mean? He's not getting an advance. He's just doing it.
He's really good at doing all that himself. He just needs a little help.
He needs a producer.
Yeah.
All right. So what did I just see? We get on a tangent.
This
is what I like, Todd. I like that we're discussing it. You just need to keep me in line so I know what I'm talking about. What did I just? Tomorrow Forever?
At 10. So it's time for my number 9.
Go ahead.
All right. My number 9 is Cat's Paw. And I ranked it a little higher because at 12 tracks, I think it's just the right length.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was easy to get to know. Do you know what I mean? It's like there was variety in the tracks. There weren't too many tracks next to each other that were too much like the ones that came before it.
Yeah.
And but again, my negative feelings about it are that it's a little low energy and a little lazy. Not lazy as in he didn't work very hard on it. Lazy as in the pace of it. It seems like it just needs to.
Well, you can't be 25 forever, Todd, for crying out loud.
It's true, but I think it's a really good record. I was trying to trying to zero in on some tracks, but I think I like all of them. I like Challenge of Gods. I like Stars Explode. I like Coming Soon. I like a lot of it. I think it's really good. I think it's for an album that you made at home, and the only other guy on it is Rick Menck on drums. Everything else is Matthew Sweet.
Yeah. It's
I think
funny
it's good.
because he plays, if I remember right, he's playing a lot of guitar on there. And, usually Matthew's always playing bass. I mean,
Yeah.
back in the old days when he was in Athens playing with the OOK and all that, he was always the bass player.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, he's a
And,
bass player.
and he's been the bass player for Lloyd Cole a couple of times.
And didn't he play bass for I keep wanting to say Anton Fig. Not Anton Fig, but help me, Todd.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh God, my brain.
Maybe shout it out later if you think of it.
It'll probably come to me.
Okay.
Anton Fig, not Anton Fig, Grant, you idiot.
I'd like to hear Matthew Sweet play bass with Anton Fig, but I don't think that happened.
Yeah, but Matthew Sweet always plays a Hofner Beetle bass. Did you know?
Uh-huh. And that's actually in the credits a cat's paw. It's the first thing. Hofner bass guitar.
Oh, you can totally tell it's a Hofner Beetle bass.
Yeah.
And that's what he's always played forever. I love it. All right, my number 9. I'm going with Modern Art. Except I need my notes just to make sure I know what I'm talking about. This record, again, Todd, this gets like 3.5 stars. For me, I know you rated it lower, but for some reason, this album kind of grabbed me and I'm going, holy crap, this record, I really hear a lot of Beatles, Beach Boys, Big Star.
I do too.
You've got Rick Menck playing drums again. He's always on everything. He's been on Girlfriend. He's been on everything. And like you said, Fred Armisen's on the one track, and that track's kind of. But for some reason, just the fact that it's very Beatley, very Beach Boys, very Big Star, and it's that power pop thing. I think this is a good power pop record. Like I said, I give all these 4 stars, but I think for me, things are, what year was this? This was 2011.
Mm-hmm.
It's still, we're kind of going back in time. He still has that fire to some degree. I kind of look at this as a return to form to somewhat. I don't know. I don't get tired of this record. I don't really get tired of any of his records. But for me, the fact that it's that Beatles, Beach Boys, blah, 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 I think it's a great power pop record, and I would recommend it.
Well, I like it more now than I did when it came out.
Okay.
When I came out, I disliked it so much it made me angry.
Real? That's because you're expecting something else.
Because Sunshine Lies came out before it, and I was disappointed in that too, which I also another album I like more now. But and then Modern Art came out, and I was like, oh, come on. But I appreciate it much more than I did when it came out.
Well, now things are going to start getting interesting because now we're at number 8.
They are.
And I remember you were saying, well, my top 8 are.
All right. So
it's time
for me to do number 8, right?
Yeah.
Sunshine Lies.
Oh, holy crap. Really?
It did not live up to the promise of whatever songs they put out on MySpace before it was released.
Yeah.
But I like it a lot. I think I think Time Machine is a good track. I think Feel Fear is almost peak Matthew Sweet. I think that's a really great song. But again, he did it himself, and he's got some good people helping him. Let me consult the book here. Oh, they don't put them all in one place. Yeah, they sort of do. Rick Menck, Greg Lease, Matthew Sweet, Richard Lloyd.
Oh, thank God.
I
do have to, like I said,
Julian too.
Yeah, I know, but Richard Lloyd, brilliant. Him and Robert Quine, Oh
Yeah.
my God. Such a powerhouse.
Now, there are times, and this may be a controversial statement, there
Go
are
ahead.
times when I feel like the lead guitar arrangements are just a little too much.
Hmm.
Like they need to be dialed back just a little bit.
Hmm.
But I think if his music didn't have that, I think it would be different in a bad way. But it just feels like there's a lot of it.
Well, let me add this just to throw it out. What if this album had more of a production style like on Girlfriend or Altered Beast or something?
I think it would be a little. I think it would fall a little bit short melody wise,
Okay.
but I think it would be much better.
Hmm.
I think it would be
I
much
mean, a
better.
lot of this has to do with production.
It does.
Hmm.
It does. So that's my number 8.
I think that's a good
I
number
like and
eight.
I like it much better than I did when it came out.
I can't argue with that. My number eight is Living Things. Now, this is his ninth studio album. The reviews on here we go again. 3.5. Everybody gives it 3.5. Rolling Stone gave it a favorable review. It's got Van Dyke Parks on it, Greg Leese, Doug Lacey on steel drums. You got to have a steel drum player for crying out loud. Rick Mannix playing drums, but there's no Richard Lloyd, and how we miss Richard Lloyd. But on this record, Matthew's playing guitar, bass, theremin, ebow, a claveline. I'm not sure what that is. Must be like a clavinet, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is either.
But this is kind of a concept album dealing with nature, animals. It might have been one of the last concept albums ever produced. I don't know. But I really like this record. There's a song on here that I think is like one of his greatest songs of all time, which is You're Not Sorry. Oh
Agreed.
my God. There's one thing about Matthew Sweet that he's really good at. When he really wants to put down a ballad, the
Which I don't
chorus,
think he does enough of
well,
now.
this is kind of like the end of it. This was
Hmm.
like the last one that really, every time I hear that, I'm just like, holy shit, I could put this on repeat over and over and over again. But I still rank it 4 stars. I cannot. But You're Not Sorry's great. Dandelion's great. Cat versus Dogs, which I do believe. If I'm not, I think that was in a movie soundtrack.
It was. It was. I just saw that today, in fact, and now I've already forgotten the movie. Uh,
But I think this is like one of the last. I mean, this is not on Volcano. I believe you may know this. I'm not sure. Did he record this or did he have a producer? This
it
was on RCAM Records,
it
which was
says that it says produced, recorded, and mixed at home in Los Angeles. All
okay.
songs by
All
Matthew Sweet.
right, all right. I forget everything after Volcano. He's doing it himself. But this was, I don't even know what RCAM Records is. It's just like kind of a one-off.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is either. Cats versus Dogs was in Garfield the movie,
Which everyone should see because that's just a classic
right?
offering from the Garfield franchise. Um, but I like this record. I mean, there's a lot of standout tracks. And I don't mind Matthew Sweet's production on this either. I know he wasn't recording things that long, but there's something about the production that I like. It's kind of Altered Beast, kind of, but it doesn't bother me. I like the songs. I like the concept behind it. I can listen to it and not get tired of it.
Okay. So my number 7 is the same album,
Okay.
Living Things. I have a complicated relationship with this album.
That's
When,
number,
when,
wait a minute.
when
Was that okay? That would be number 7. Yeah.
that would be my number 7. Yeah, it was your number 8.
See, your job's to keep me in line because I'll go all whoppy job.
I have it printed right in my line of view.
Excellent.
When this album came out, I was still married to my first wife, and she was very, very disappointed in it after the 2 that came out before it. I sort of was too. I love You're Not Sorry. I love
Oh
Dandelion.
my God. Yes.
And I think that Season Is Over and Tomorrow really save it. Though I
Mhm.
think the last 2 songs are pretty spectacular. But I really like the album that came before it, and I really like the album that you ranked 15th. And to me, this wasn't quite there,
Gotcha.
and so I had to warm up to it, which I did, and now it's number 7. But as you like to say, this is where the cracks started to form.
I've said that in the past.
But yeah, and I think that's a great phrase, because in my opinion, this is where the cracks started to form. I wanted to say something about Van Dyke Parks.
Mhm.
I'm not a big fan of Van Dyke Parks, which is weird because I love all things keyboard. But when this album came out, I used to say that it sounded like somebody pushed Van Dyke Parks down the stairs with his piano,
Mhm.
because it's very, very busy and very frantic piano playing. And
Which doesn't seem like Van Dyke Parks to me.
yeah, but that's the impression that I get. It's too busy, and I feel like it clutters it up a bit. And I could be all alone on
No,
that.
no. I think that's a good point.
I could be all alone on that. But yeah, that was one of my issues with it. And I've also made peace with that issue.
Well, excellent. All right, my number 7 is Earth. This is his second album. This is his only A&M album. Matthew Sweet recorded Girlfriend for A&M. A&M rejected it. Girlfriend sat on the shelf for a year while he shopped it around. Obviously, A&M were out of their minds.
Well, I read that they were anxious to get rid of him.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they knew what to do with it.
Yeah.
Now you're thinking, Grant, why are you rating this so? Ooh, I'm out of focus. Why are you rating this so high? Well, I rate this so high because it's like a bittersweet. When I first got into Matthew Sweet, I desperately tried to find this record. You could not find it. It didn't sell for shit. I never did find it until, well, this is an original European pressing. So this is like a first pressing, but you could never find it. And then I got on the remaster. There was a story. I was dating a girl who had a friend. Her name was Mindy. She lived in Cleveland. We'd go up and visit her. And she was big into alternative, Echo and the Bunnymen, New Order, blah, blah, blah. And I was just absolutely Matthew Sweet crazy. She had an original cassette of this. And I was like going, oh my God, Mindy, you have to let me have that cassette. But I could not pry it out of her dead hands, though she was alive. But we listened to it, and I listened to it. I thought, well, this isn't Girlfriend, but holy crap, I can see where we're going. You can kind of see the blueprint. And when I saw Matthew Sweet on the Girlfriend tour, he played When I Feel Again, which is a great song. One of my favorite Matthew Sweet songs. So this is why it kind of creeps up, because you can see what's coming.
Oh, yeah.
Robert
Absolutely.
Quinn playing guitar. You've got Chris Stamey's on it. Trip Shakespeare, Richard Lloyd's on it. And Fred Mayer, of course, is doing all the drum programming. Though you know what's kind of funny, Todd, is that even though there's a lot of drum programming on this record, it doesn't bother me so much.
It doesn't bother me either.
I mean, it's really well done. And didn't Fred Mayer, didn't he Dave Allen and Fred Mayer and Matthew Sweet produced it. You would think that since Matthew was involved in the production, they might know where they want to go, but maybe they don't. They're still trying to figure it out.
And I think it's uncharacteristic of a Dave Allen production. I think it's bouncier and lighter than his productions usually.
Yeah, because all the Dave Allen stuff with The Cure is very kind of muddy and thick.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to leave it at muddy and thick. And this is not. In fact, I listened to this the other day walking the dog, and I'm just going, wow. I mean, I was really digging it. I think it needs to get more love because I think out of all of his solo albums, this one really gets hit hard. But I think it's got a lot of great songs. Vertigo's great. Vixen's fine. I just don't know. I just don't think they knew what to do with him. But this still has, I don't know. I like this record quite a bit. Maybe it should be graded lower, but Teddy's barking.
I could see this album creeping up higher for me. If I made an effort to get more familiar with it, I could see it.
Yeah.
Jumping
but I like it, and I think it stands up, and I think it needs to get more love. For a record that came out in 89.
And it, like I was saying earlier, it's really weird to think about 1989 and think about a record label releasing this album. Mm-hmm. And it really does make you wonder, who's it for? If I'd have heard it in 89, it would have been for me. I would have liked it. Mm-hmm. But I didn't hear it. I didn't know who he was.
Like I said, this thing didn't sell at all. I've never, other than this, I have never seen an original pressing of it. I know what it is and what to look for. Never seen one. You barely see the CDs used. You barely see the records.
Well, I was going to say, since it's 1989 was kind of the end of the road for vinyl in the United States.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder if there was vinyl.
Yeah, because I've got that promo copy of it.
Okay.
Not a white label promo. They just use the regular A&M. It's like the black A&M with the gold font.
Yeah.
They didn't even give him a promo label. But I like this record, and I think it needs to get more love. So there you go. That's my number 7. Number 6.
My number 6. This is where it starts getting really good. Mm-hmm. This is where I feel like everything is masterpiece too strong a word?
Yeah, I'm looking at my list. I'm trying to think what you would have left. Interesting.
All right. My number 6 is Kimi ga Suki from 2003. I think I'm saying that right.
So which one do you have?
I have a later one. It says 2003 manufactured by Avex in Tokyo. And it looks like
that's the one I've got.
Blue.
You've got because they repressed this for the domestic market.
My first wife had a different one. I think that the CD was still blue, but I don't think it had this in it. It's got this lyric booklet where the lyrics are in Japanese and they're in English.
Yeah, I've got that.
Okay.
And I've got the OBI. Do you have that?
No, I don't. I don't know whether
not that we're going all geeky
or not.
Not we're going on a record collecting geeky, but I put the OBI in here.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
But I got this right when it came out because I was so excited because I read reviews about it and people were raving about this.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead, Scott. I mean,
so my thing about this,
sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. My thing about this album is, well, I'll go ahead and say my negative things about it first.
Go ahead.
It was recorded really quickly, and it sounds like it was recorded really quickly. It's a little bit busy. Mm-hmm. It's a little. I wouldn't say it sounds like a demo because I think it sounds more complete and it has more energy than a demo, but it doesn't sound like a polished major label recording to me. But I have to say, the 1, 2, 3 punch of the first three tracks, Dead Smile, Morning Song, and The Ocean in Between.
Oh my God.
It's the best 3-song run of his. And those songs, Dead Smile and especially Morning Song, I actually, I usually get, if I'm going to get emotional about a song, it's usually, like about a ballad or a big long prog rock song or something like that. But these are like power pop songs, but I get emotional. Like I think Morning Song is so good that I get like, I like tear up because I enjoy it so much. It's like this record has that for me. And, I feel like there are some songs that, when it gets into the middle, it's not, I don't want to say the quality goes down. It doesn't quite live up to those first three, but there isn't a song I don't like. I think Spiral is really cool. I think I Don't Want to Know is great because it's so short and it's the ultimate. I Don't Want to Know is the ultimate Matthew Sweet layered vocals kind of thing. Back when it's interesting, he produced this himself.
Yeah.
But he nailed all of that. He nailed those layered vocals. So it makes you wonder, did he forget how to do it, or did he lose interest in doing it? But he nails it on this.
Because that really was his thing. That whole layered, thick, I'm going to say Queen, vocal.
And I remember it being somewhat controversial. I've heard that there were people that accused him of pitch adjusting his voice so that he could sing higher parts, like electronically altering it to put the high parts in. And maybe, I don't know, whatever it is, whatever the trick is, it's great. I love it. It doesn't bother me if he manipulated his voice to make it happen. The fact is he made it happen and it sounds so great. And Tonight Rewide, I don't think Matthew Sweet songs get much better than that.
No.
So I think that this album is spectacular.
I do too.
It makes me wonder why he doesn't, although I guess he did that with Wicked System of Things. And you know what? That turned out pretty good too. I was going to say, it makes me wonder why he doesn't.
But this record, though,
really often,
constantly over the reviews, 4 stars.
Yeah.
This is the record, which I was talking about, where they almost thought he's returned to form.
I feel like the word to describe this album is joyful. It's just, talk about a feel-good album.
And you know what? It's funny that they only released that in Japan, and because it's sold so well as an import, they've brought it out here. But still, if you're going out and you're in the wild and you're looking through the used bins, you never see that. Maybe that's a good sign because people really like it. I love this record.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not there yet, but I'm going to say for me, the standout track on it, I guess since I'm here, I'll talk about it and we can just jump over when I get it. Wait is the classic song on this record. That would be the 45 if there's a 45 on it. But you are 100% correct, Todd. Dead Smile, Morning Song, The Ocean in Between, a 1, 2, 3 punch. I mean, it's just,
The Ocean in Between just goes and goes and goes. It's got so much fire under it. And it's just, man,
I love
I'm getting excited just talking.
I know, it's so freaking good. God. All right, my number 6 is Wicked System of Things.
Okay.
And this kind of goes along.
Good segue.
Well, these albums are very similar.
Yeah.
Very power pop. And I've already talked about Wicked System of Things, but that's my number 6. I think this and this previous record, I'm not even going to Kimmy. I'm just going to call it Kimmy. Go hand in hand. They're very similar type of records. Tonality's very similar. They recorded very fast, probably written very quickly. But there's a certain energy to both of these because Wicked System of Things is part of that trilogy that they call, but I've ranked this way up higher than, Tomorrow's Daughter or Tomorrow Forever. I love Wicked System of Things, and I think it's a crime that never really got a major release. The fact that they only pressed 1,500 copies is a crime.
I'd like it to at least have a digital release. just so that you could,
Well, I
have
bought
it.
that record. Well, yeah, I agree, but the download card wasn't in that.
Was there a download card?
Yeah, it's on printed on the cover.
Okay. All right. So there are digital files floating around out there.
Somewhere if you could find them, but I haven't. I wish Matthew put them out there. I don't know why he hadn't.
Yeah.
All right, number 5.
All right, number 5. My number 5 is Blue Sky on Mars.
Excellent
And
choice.
I love this record.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, I don't know if a lot of people,
Well, when it
people,
came out, it got
people
2
I
star.
know didn't like the fact that Matthew played all the guitars on it. I think that's correct. Is that correct?
That's
I meant to
correct.
check that.
People missed Richard Lloyd.
Yeah. I personally don't. I think Richard Lloyd is great and I love him, but I don't think this album feels like anything's missing. I love Back to You and Where You Get Love. I think Hollow was really cool. Till You Break is great.
Oh my God.
Missing Time is unreal. I absolutely love Missing Time.
I saw Matt. I'm going to interject. I saw him on this tour and he played Until You Break. It was like him playing piano.
Mm-hmm.
Just him singing, playing piano.
Oh, I bet that was great.
I think
now, this
that
album
song, it might have been, wait a minute. I might be getting that confused because, it could have been, I almost forgot, but I think it was Until You Break. I don't know. Someone in the comments may be able to.
It would be easy to confuse songs though between that particular album and this one. It's
Yes.
they're the Brendan O'Brien era.
Yep.
This album got put above Kimi because of the way it sounds. It sounds fantastic. Yeah, I like some a lot. Interesting thing about this CD, the indexing is messed up. So I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but when the songs start, they all start late. So if you program the tracks and you don't listen to it in sequence, it's like the beginning of the next song is at the end of each track, just barely. I've always thought that was interesting.
I've never really noticed.
Yeah.
I'll have to, well, I played it like last week, but I just played it through.
When you play it all the way through, you don't notice it.
You put it on shuffle, you might notice it. Normally,
really interesting that Roger Dean did the titling for it, but not the artwork. It's just a photograph, and then it's got Roger Dean's.
I think people like the Roger Dean artwork, but they probably wish that it was a little bit more. I think people expected a lot more out of this. I think this record has aged really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, look how high you're ranking it.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you might not have ranked it that high.
But no, I would have.
Would you?
This was peak Matthew Sweet time for me.
Okay. Just saying, it's. I love it. I ranked it even higher.
All right, so that's my number 5.
So my number 5's Kimmy, and I think I already talked about it. That and Wicked System of Things, I think they kind of go hand in hand. I think Kimmy and I think Wait is an absolute classic. One of my all-time favorite Matthew Sweet songs. In fact, like you said, the first 3 tracks on it are absolutely killer. The production, I don't mind it. I think the way it sounds is great. It sounds kind of lively and it's very, what do I want to say? It's very, it's catchy. It's immediate.
I don't mind it and I wouldn't change anything about it.
I wouldn't change anything.
I wouldn't clean it. I wouldn't clean it up. I think it's
a
fine
classic.
Just the way it is.
I think it's fine just the way it is. Well put. I'm going to leave it at that. So what are we at? Number 4?
We're at number 4.
All right.
My number 4. And I have
I
have the relatively rare red version of usually they're brown or purple.
Purple? Well, let's see what I've got.
Of Altered Beast.
Oh.
What do you have?
I got green.
Okay. I think I used to have purple.
And this one I bought when it came out.
So Altered Beast, produced by Richard Dashit, a very strange choice. Richard Dashit of Fleetwood Mac fame and Lindsey Buckingham. Yep. He's used to be one of my favorite producers. He really doesn't work anymore, but I don't think that he did such a great job producing this record. I think this record's a little too muddy, but the song.
Yes,
this record is all about the songs.
Yes, it is.
And the rock songs on it are really good. Dinosaur Act, Devil with the Green Eyes, The Ugly Truth, Time Capsule, all great songs. But the part of it that I love the most is 12, 13, 14, and 15. Reaching Out, Falling, What Do You Know, and Evergreen. And What Do You Know is probably, that's a top 3 Matthew Sweet song for me.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But for me, it's all about the songs, and I think the songs are there. I could have done without the Caligula dialogue, but
yeah, it doesn't bother me. I'm not sure
them, and
I'm not sure what the point of that was, but
yeah, I could have done without it.
I have to agree with you. Closing with Evergreen. Oh, what a great track.
I remember going through it the first time and thinking, oh, this really isn't. It's good. It's not quite as good as Girlfriend. And then hitting those last 4 tracks and going, oh.
Have you heard I don't know if you have this, but do you have the EPs that came out with this?
Some of them. I have the digital files of some of them. Back in the way back days, I used to have the physical copies of all of them.
I wonder if I can bring it up, because I can't think of it because I didn't put it in my notes. But yeah, I rated this higher, but you said this is your number 4?
It's my number 4.
Okay.
It's getting interesting, isn't it?
I'm surprised it's that low, because I think it's absolutely brilliant. I understand that the production's a little bit muddy. I think what I read, Matthew Sweet said they were just trying to throw in the kitchen sink on everything. They kind of overproduced it. But the songwriting on this record, Todd.
Yeah.
It's perfection. I love this record. And obviously I rated it pretty high. But I love it. One of my favorites.
And everything I've read, maybe 4 or 5 different pieces of, different articles where Matthew Sweet talks about making it. Mm-hmm. And in every single one of them, he says, I wish I would have just sat down with Richard Dashit and asked him a whole bunch of questions about Fleetwood Mac. But we were so busy, I just didn't have time to do it.
I wish he would have done a Rumors production on it, or Tusk or something.
So do I, because think about how clean and crisp that is. I mean, and think about Lindsey Buckingham, Out of the Cradle.
I know.
Which is also produced by Richard Dashit.
So I don't know why it's so muddy.
But it came out the way it came out.
I mean, was it Intervention Records put it back, remastered it?
And that might be worth getting. Their records are pricey, but it might be worth seeing.
Well, I've got the Girlfriend one where Matthew signed it. I haven't gotten... I'd be interested to see what it sounds like.
I've had previous vinyl versions of Matthew Sweet's records. I've had Blue Sky on Mars and 100% Fun, and was not happy with the mastering quality. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't keep them. But the Intervention are probably going to be worth checking out.
You might as well just keep the CDs, because...
Yeah, right. Yeah. I thought they sounded better.
But don't forget, they're like a double album packed onto one disc.
Yeah.
So, what are you going to get? It's not going to be good. So, all right, what number are we on?
We're on number 4. So that was my number
4. That was your 4.
Yes.
My number 4 is Blue Sky on Mars. And back in the day when this came out, I thought, some great songs on it. I think this has aged really well. I like Come to California, Where You Get Love, Hollow, Behind the Smile, Until You Break. Holy crap, it's that Matthew Sweet ballad.
Yep. We're going to talk about that more in one of the records that comes later. Because there's one that
Into Your Drug.
Yeah.
I like the whole thing, Todd. I like the whole thing. I like it better now than I liked it when it came out. I think this album got poor reviews. I think, like I said before, I think they wanted another 100% fun. I think they wanted another girlfriend. I think that Matthew was just trying to stretch his legs, be kind of creative. I mean, yeah, it sounds more like McCartney, the McCartney solo album from,
Mm-hmm.
it's like Matthew just kind of going, but Brendan O'Brien produced it. This is why I find it so fascinating that it sounds so,
Yeah, Brendan O'Brien and Matthew Sweet.
but it sounds so, what do I want to say it? I don't want to say earthy, homespun.
Yeah. But it does, it has the really crisp, clean, straightforward, not too many effects drum sound. So,
but when you listen to it, it sounds great.
It does.
I don't know why it was judged so harshly. The CD that I have is just the regular domestic one that I've had forever. But the Japanese one had bonus tracks. If It's Happening, You'll Know, Close Inside, and Final Hour. I've never seen that version of it.
I've never heard Final Hour. I've heard If It's Happening, You Know It. But
yeah, I don't think I've ever heard it. I want to hear it, but I don't think I've heard it. But I like this record. I would give this a 4.5 star. Anything that in this area, I'm going to give 4 or 5 stars. I think this holds up with a lot.
I think from my number 6 Kimi on up, I think they're all 5-star. They're either 5 or 4.5 or
yeah, there might be like a point something difference.
Right.
But I wish I had something to complain about it. I really don't. If I just had Until You Break and that was the price of admission and it just had that, I mean, it's just so beautiful and God, what a great song. I love that song. So there you go. Yes, there you go. That's all I'm going to say.
I didn't think you were going to rank that one that high.
I thought I was didn't know either. I didn't know I was going to. But as I reviewed all the records, that's where it ended up.
Mine moved around from where I thought they were going to be.
Yeah, this was really hard for me to do.
And when I reveal all of them, we can talk about that.
So that was my number 4. What's your number 3?
My number 3. Okay, controversy alert. Where's the red siren?
Oh, shit, I don't have any effects.
My number 3 is Girlfriend.
Oh, holy Jesus.
And I know what you're thinking now about the 2 that are left.
I know what's left. Well, maybe I don't. Wait a minute. Let me look. I know one that's left.
Uh-huh.
Wow, this is getting really interesting. Go ahead, Todd. I want to hear.
Let's talk about Girlfriend. Girlfriend is a spectacular record. It sounds like $1 million. When I had it, I loved the way the CD sounded. I put it on a cassette and played it in the car, and I loved the way the cassette sounded. And just song-wise, it's got a great, it's got a pretty good 1, 2, 3 going too on this
4,
one.
5, 6, 7.
Well,
8.
yeah, but Divine Intervention and I've Been Waiting and Girlfriend. The first song that caught my ear was I've Been Waiting, and I liked it instantly. And like I said, my brother-in-law bought me this. My brother-in-law at the time was a big Dave Matthews Band guy, and he bought me this, and I was just like, well, this looks like something I'd like, but I don't know. And so I put it on with like 0 expectations. I hadn't heard Inside, I hadn't heard Earth, and I put it on with 0 expectations, and I was really blown away by it. Evangeline, Thought I Knew You, You Don't Love Me. Just great.
Winona.
Downside for me is Does She Talk? I think Does She Talk is pretty awful, but
I love it.
But that's the only thing that I don't think is 5 stars. I think it's interesting that it was going to be called Nothing Lasts.
It's not very upbeat.
No.
But if you're going through a divorce, which is what this whole album was written after, he was in a lot of pain. But when you're in a lot of pain, you produce master works. And I'm not saying this is my number 1. but it's a masterpiece,
Well, this is my number three, and
which I'm really
I,
surprised.
just tells you what I think about his catalog. It's a fantastic album,
But
and
think about it, Todd. The fact that you've jumped from Earth
to
to
this, I
this,
know.
and he was still on A&M, and
And
he
they heard
submit.
this and rejected it.
I don't know if they knew what to do because it was so ahead of its time. Think about it. He produced a record that had no reverb on it at
Mhm.
all.
Mhm.
Everything's right up front.
And
Everything's right in your face.
we talk about the lead guitars, about Richard Lloyd and Robert
Robert,
Quine.
yeah.
But the thing that's so compelling to me on this record is the rhythm guitar, like the rhythm guitar parts and Divine Intervention and Girlfriend. I mean, they're really inventive, and there's a lot of space in it, and it's
Oh
just
yeah, no reverb. You're going to have a lot of.
yeah.
And you know what's funny? They did that remaster with the Super Audio CD on Intervention and all that.
Mhm.
I've got both versions of it. And this might be kind of controversial, but I like the sound of the original CD.
I, I have no complaints about this, and I'm just going to keep on listening to this.
That CD,
It just feels right to me.
you can crank it up.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get any ear fatigue. It's EQ'd totally correct. It's a beautiful sounding record. I can't remember who engineered it.
You can put it on a cassette and it sounds great. You can put it on a cheap cassette and it sounds great.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm pretty sure, what I did.
I mean, I'm all for the Super Audio CD version of it.
Sure, yeah.
But if anyone watching this video and you see this in the cheapie bin, which you can find this in the cheapie bin, by all means, get it. In fact, any Matthew Sweet, if you find it, get it. I don't want to
Produced
just
by Fred Marr and Matthew Sweet.
Yeah.
So
top notch.
Yep. And Lloyd Cole's on here.
Lloyd Cole's playing a lot of rhythm guitar on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because don't forget, do you have that load? There are 2 Lloyd Cole albums. Oh crap, what's it called? God, I wasn't prepared for it.
There is, and my Lloyd Cole albums are in the other room.
Okay, there's
one called
records.
Lloyd Cole, and there's one called they're like back to back.
Okay, the Lloyd Cole and the one that came out after it. Matthew Sweet's all over that record.
Yeah.
So and just a little bit of trivia, those records were all recorded like at the same studio in New York City. These were all recorded all at the same time, pretty much. Mm-hmm. But that one Lloyd Cole, God, I'd love to do a Lloyd Cole thing too.
Let's sorry to come out of the frame. Let's do one, and we can also talk about this big old Lloyd Cole and the Commotions box set, which is pretty cool.
I don't know, Todd, we're going to be pretty busy. But the Lloyd Cole stuff, oh man.
I want to say one of them is self-titled and the other one's called X. Is that right?
What's
is that right? One of them's self-titled and the other one's called X. Do I have that right?
One self-titled, it's a black and white cover with Lloyd's head, and it's got little designs on it. And the other one's he's out in a parking lot. Which is a great record. That was recorded the same time like Girlfriend was.
Yeah, and I like the Lloyd Cole records after that. Again, that's
Don't Lean on Me, Baby, or something like that.
Don't Get Weird on Me, Baby.
Don't Get Weird on Me, Baby. That's what it is. Great record. Yeah, oh my God, I love that record. And Lloyd Cole and the Commotions, you like all that stuff?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the box set.
Yep.
God, holy crap, we're gonna have discussions out our ass. Okay.
This will be your number 3.
My number 3. Okay, and this one I've got cool. Well, it looks awfully worn, but it looked like this when I bought it. 100% Fun's my number 3. This is the Japanese import.
Oh, okay.
That I bought at when this came out. And it's got all the bonus tracks. This is kind of cool. It's got a little booklet with a little anime stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
And liner notes. Matthew Sweet does a little blurb in it. We've got more anime. Cool. But when I got it, because it was an import, you see like there's like wear on the top.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it came. I don't
Oh,
know
okay.
its life where it was sitting, but I got it right when it came out. And the bonus tracks on here are if I could only see it. Smog Moon.
Oh, Smog Moon is the last track on the album.
Okay, wait a minute then. Sense of Adventure and Slowly.
Those are two that I have never heard.
All right, well, they're on here.
Okay.
But this is the only Japanese import that I was able to find. Because, I mean, Matthew Sweet put a bunch of extra bonus tracks on all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I still have it, even though it's worn. But
and these albums, these two Brendan O'Brien albums, 100% Fun and Blue Sky on Mars, are short. Yeah. They're 30 something minutes apiece.
Yeah, you have plenty of room to put bonus tracks on.
Right.
It's funny, the cover says 16.66% extra fun includes 2 bonus tracks.
But you know what's great about this record cover? I know you probably got more to say about the album, but I just wanted to say this.
Well, you're fine
about it. Look at the cover. I don't know how old you are, Grant, but that's me on the cover.
Well, I can guarantee you that I'm your age. So
yeah, that's me on the cover. That's
what I did.
Yeah,
did you have big old headphones like
you're right at the same time. Yeah. That looks like about circa 1978 to me. And
yeah, it does.
Young Todd right there.
There you are, digging your tunage. So this came out in 95. Of course, in fact, the single Sick of Myself reached number 2 on the Billboard Modern Rock chart, which is good. The reviews on this, Entertainment Weekly gave it B+, All Music gave it like 4.5. Rolling Stone gave it 4, but across the board, Spin gave it an 8 out of 10. This album, basically, after the whole, I don't want to say fiasco of Ultra Beast, because I love that record, but Matthew Sweet kind of went back to capture kind of that girlfriend type of vibe. And I think he did a wonderful job doing it.
At the time, it was a big deal for him to get Brendan O'Brien. And I can remember
he was hot from
saying,
Pearl
how
Jam,
did you get
right?
Brendan O'Brien? Because Brendan O'Brien was like the it guy at that time. And everybody wanted to work with him.
Yeah, so he got him. And I think his work with Brendan O'Brien was, well, I love it. Obviously, we've rated these albums this high. We love his work, and I love his production. This record sounds great. Sick of Myself is a classic. Well, there's not one weak track on it, I don't think. Not When I Need It. We're the Same. Holy, what a great song. Giving It Back. Everything Changes. I almost forgot I love that song. Come to think of it, I think I saw him on this tour, and this is the song that he played up on stage with just a piano. I'm pretty sure it was I Almost Forgot. No band. Absolutely wonderful. And I think Richard Lloyd played guitar on that tour, if I'm not mistaken, because when I saw him with Girlfriend, I think that was Ivan Julian. Both times. But on here, when I saw Richard Lloyd was playing, I almost had a conniption because I thought, about time. Because Richard Lloyd's a really good, he's not as sloppy as Ivan is. Mm-hmm. People may like that. But this record is pretty much the Girlfriend lineup, because you've got Matthew, which is covering rhythm guitar. He's doing some lead guitar, but playing bass on it. Like I said, Matthew Sweet's always the bass player, and he's got great bass parts. I have no issues with that. Play more bass, I like it. But you got Robert Quine playing lead. You've got Richard Lloyd. Greg Leeds back on it, playing pedal steel, and Rick Menick on drums. Stuart Johnson plays drums. I'm not sure who Stuart Johnson is, but you basically have the Girlfriend lineup.
Yep.
What's not to love? Super Baby's great. I mean, it's a power pop classic. it's a wonderful record, and I rated it number 3. Wow, we're getting down to the God knows what you're going to pick. I have no idea.
Well, my number 2 is 100% Fun.
Okay.
And a little while ago, I said that was me on the cover. It's not really me. It's
No,
Matthew
it's a
Sweet.
young Matthew Sweet
I'm
blonde.
pretty sure my mom had that lamp. But
probably had that couch too.
yeah. But this album, when it came out, was like I said before about Blue Sky and Mars. This Blue Sky and Mars and this one was when I was really in the peak of my Matthew Sweet fandom, and I really, really loved. I loved Sick of Myself, but I really loved Not When I Need It. Mm-hmm. I really, really love that song, and then We're the Same, of course. Every single one of these songs could be a top 10 Matthew Sweet song. Yeah. Lost My Mind is trippy and great, and he used to do one of those on every album too. I almost forgot if we do a ranking of the songs, it's going to be really, really high for me.
I know.
I think that song is pretty much perfect.
Oh, we'll be doing the ranking, Todd.
But and Smog Moon, I absolutely love. So yeah, this record is to me, it's like Blue Sky on Mars, just a little better.
I would agree with you 100%. Because obviously I rated it higher than Blue Sky on Mars. And like we said, I'm just surprised how high I rated Blue Skies on Mars, because, to be honest,
I've never got to be honest about how you feel about something.
I know, but I've never sat down and ranked these before in my life. I just play them. I'm going, you know what? I want to play this one. It's just funny how things work out. Well, my number 2 is Altered Beast. Of course, during this era, I was all hopped up on Girlfriend. I wonder what my number 1 will be. I have no idea. But on this record, I thought it was the only flaw is the production. I wish it was more opened up. I probably like to listen to the SACD. I'm probably just going to have to buy it. You can still get them off Intervention with Matthew Sweet's signature on it. So, and I don't know how long that'll last.
Yeah.
But, I might just have to go ahead and get it. But the whole album here, it's not that far off from 100% Fun. But what I do like about this is it's kind of dark.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that production just, you've got someone to pull the trigger. That's not really uplifting.
No.
But what a great song. Holy Jesus.
Yeah, I don't think I mentioned that. I didn't single that one out, and I really should have.
In fact, this on the Good Friend thing, which was the promo for Girlfriend, there's a version on here of someone to pull the trigger, which I believe might have been recorded live at a radio station. Oh my God. I wish I could rank this in here, because I think every Matthew Sweet should have a copy of this promo, because it's got like 10 tracks, 11, 12, wait a minute, 9, 10. It's got 12 tracks. It's like an album. But if I would rank this, I would put this right with all these, even though this is just a promo. But the performances and the song selection, this has got the version of Cortez the Killer on it. Have you heard Matthew Sweet's version of Cortez the Killer?
Years ago.
Okay.
But I don't.
But it's on here.
A copy. I need to get that.
Well, I know I've got an extra copy. I'm going to set you up. But what I'm saying, God, I wish this is all overexposed because it's white. Anybody who's watching this video and not familiar with Matthew Sweet, go out and try to find this. It's not very much money.
They were just a couple of record store days ago. They released it on vinyl for record.
I've got it. I don't know where I put it, but I have it. And it's a 2-record set.
And there's a store near my house that I think the guy might still have some, so I need to go.
I would
pay him a visit.
Maybe get it. But I'm going to send you the other.
Thank you.
See, the one I've got's a different one. It doesn't have this. It's a 2 CD set combined with, it's like for a record store where they were like playing different.
Okay.
I'll send you a link to it. But I
Okay.
thought, you know what, Grant? I want the one with this cover. I mean, it's got like a little tiny version of it, but it's still the same CD with this printing. It's the same pressing. But I'll send that to you because I don't need both. Well, anyway, I'm getting off the. We're just wrapping Matthew Sweet, so it's all good. But Reaching Out's great. Falling, Evergreen, like you said, what a way to end a record. 5 stars. The only fault that I can see is the production, and I can get over that. But it's funny, Rolling Stone, when this came out, they rated it 3 stars. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
They're rating it like it's Earth or something. Really? This is light years ahead. I mean, Matthew Sweet, just the songwriting, even though the songwriting on Earth and Inside are fine, but by the time he got to Girlfriend and lived through all that pain, all that marriage issue, it really developed him as a songwriter. And, you know, he got on this, he's still going with it. He's on a creative high, I guess. I don't know what you would call it, just a creative run. It's a beautiful record.
Yeah.
Now, I've been trying to keep track of what, and you know what? I kind of lost track.
Good.
I
Then this will be a really
you know what
big
my
surprise.
number one is, and I can't imagine anything else would be number one, but let me hear it, Todd. Let's hear what you got.
All right. Well, I will say that my number one and my number two flip-flopped.
Okay.
Very recently. I had 100% fun at number one, and I changed my mind. My number one is In Reverse.
Oh, Jesus. And that's my last one.
Now hear me out, okay?
Like I said, it's a 4-star record.
I'm not crazy about the engineering, and I almost knocked it to number two because of that. I think most of it sounds pretty good. A lot of people are on this record. A lot of people played on it. Every track has its own personnel list, and the personnel lists are pretty long. But I'm gonna list the tracks that I think are really just spectacular. If Time Permits, Hide, Trade Places, What Matters, Write Your Own Song, Worse to Live, Untitled, and Thunderstorm. Pretty much almost all of them.
Well, I'll give you Thunderstorm is
Worse to Live. I couldn't believe it when I heard it. I was just like, I can't, I as much as I love Matthew Sweet ballads, when I heard it, I was just like, wow. And Thunderstorm reminded me, when I first heard it, of Lindsey Buckingham's DW Suite on Go Insane.
Yeah,
I heard Thunderstorm,
I like that record too.
Yeah, me too. I was like, this is like DW Suite, only somehow way better. The theremin in Thunderstorm, the guitar solo in Thunderstorm. In fact, I'm going to look up and see who plays it. I think there's more than one credit for.
I don't remember Richard Lloyd being on it, but he might have been.
Let's see here. Pete Phillips gets a lead guitar credit. Greg Leitz steel guitar, a bunch of acoustic guitar players. So that, I think, means that Pete Phillips played the electric guitar. I think that the guitar solo is just absolutely
I don't
stunning.
know Pete Phillips. I'm assuming Matthew played bass on it.
Let's see. Electric guitar, 6 and 12 string acoustic guitars, organ, bass, and vocals. But the theremin, oh my God, the theremin.
Yeah, I love that.
Best use of the theremin I've ever heard in my life. Trade Places and What Matters, and wow.
I may have judged it poorly.
I just
can't get over the way it was mastered. That's what ruined it for me.
I think it was just that when it came out, the songs on it were what I wanted to hear.
Mhm.
And I kind of, I kind of want everybody to get proggier.
I got
So
it.
that's what I felt like when I heard Thunderstorm. And one of the great disappointments for me as far as Matthew Sweet, there's not very many disappointments, but one of them is that was it. That was the last time he did a multi-part suite.
That
That
was
was the
the
last time he did a long song.
that was the last record for Zoo Volcano.
Yeah. Well, it might have been the last record, with a budget.
Of course, after that they put out that greatest hits. It had like 2 tracks on it.
Yeah, and we should, what we should
I've
do?
got that too.
We should do an extra tracks or a EP show because
Oh, whatever. Either
Ready and
one.
So Far, especially So Far. So Far is one of my favorite Matthew Sweet songs. And that's another thing
We
too.
can talk about it.
When that came out, that came out, and then what came out after it, I was just like, man, those 2 songs were so good. I want more songs like those 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're left over from the period when he had some cash. This must have been a very expensive record.
I believe so. It's
There
you
are
know
a lot.
what? I'm just going to do whatever I can on this last one. He was probably hoping they'd pick him up but by this time, this record did not sell at all.
No, it didn't. It didn't. But
I
like
feel
it.
bad, Todd, that I'm so hard on it. I really like it. It's a 4-star record, but I can't have everything.
Right.
If it had a little bit better production, if Brendan O'Brien was here for this.
But this might not have been his kind of record.
Yeah.
There's so many people on it, and there's so many different kinds of instruments, and it might have just been,
it's very 60s, very Phil Spector, very Brian Wilson Pet Sounds.
Yeah.
And I get it because Matthew Sweet loves that stuff. And I applaud him for doing it. But whoever mastered that thing, where's the bass?
I should mention for anybody who might be watching this who's not familiar with Matthew Sweet's work. So Thunderstorm is the last record on this song, and it's a multi-part suite. It's kind of like, I should have counted how many songs. I think it's 4 songs. It's either 4 or 5. It's kind of like 4 little short songs in succession made into this 9-minute and 37-second suite. And it's highly recommended.
What can you say? Well, obviously know what my number 1 is. Girlfriend, which I think is absolute pop perfection. Here's my copy of Matthew Sweet.
Oh, nice.
So I got that in 2020 and he signed it. Well, if you get them through, I don't think they have any more of these anymore, but you can still get Altered Beast with his signature.
Is that the Intervention Records one? Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say it's in one of those funky jewel cases. So
yeah, I think this is a masterpiece. The Interventions Records has all the bonus tracks on it. If I had my glasses on, I could see that, but I can't see it. What more can you say about it? Everybody thinks this is his best record. I think it's his best record. He captured lightning in a bottle. The fact that he could go from Earth to Girlfriend in 2 years. Well, don't forget, it was more like a year because this sat on the shelf for a year and he couldn't get any traction on it.
I wonder, I would hate to say this and have it be, somebody say, well, of course he talked about it, but I don't think I've ever heard anybody ask him, what made you shift course so abruptly?
I think it had a lot to do with Neil Young.
Was this what you always wanted to do, or is this something that just felt right at the time?
He heard Neil Young and Crazy Horse, and he wasn't really aware of them. And you know how Neil Young and Crazy Horse is very.
So he has talked about that then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
that was the big influence. But the bonus tracks are Good Friend, Super Deformed, and Teenage Female, which are all demos.
I've heard all those.
I've got the single of it.
Yeah.
So they just tagged those on. But Divine Intervention, I've Been Waiting, Girlfriend, Looking at the Sun, Winona, Evangeline, Dave. There's not one weak song. I know you don't like Does She Talk, but You know, all those, the whole story behind that is that they got to the end, but they were having such a great time recording this.
They just kept going.
They kept going. And so they kept going because that's why those songs sound so live. Does Your Sweet Voice, Does She Talk? I mean, I think Does She Talk Holy War, but Nothing Lasts was the original title track, of course, but it is perfection. I recommend more people go through divorces before they record albums.
I used to say that about Elvis Costello when he married Kate O'Rourke and he was all happy. And I was just like, happy Elvis
doesn't
Costello,
make good records.
What is this? But now he's married to Diana Krall, like the most beautiful woman in the world, really talented. And he's doing good records again. So that theory doesn't work for me anymore.
But Ivan Julian's playing guitar on this too. Lloyd Cole, Robert Quine, Richard Lloyd, Ivan Julian. He must not be playing a whole lot because I would pick that out. Fred Mayer, drums, guitar, and then Rick Mennick. Rick's been on everything other than, he might have been on Earth. I can't remember who. No, that was a drum machine.
It actually was, I think, let me look this up. I think it's the drum machine, but he did it. Let me see. Programming, Matthew Sweet and Fred Marr. Programming, Matthew Sweet, Fred Marr, and Rick Mink. Yeah. So he wasn't playing a kit on Earth, but he was making the drum sounds.
Yeah. So obviously this is my number one. He's never gotten to this level. Hard to believe he got to this level in this third album. But this is one of my all-time favorite albums. Of course, I'm not putting it in the Beatles catalog. Everything on the Beatles is like in a different category by itself. But in the other category, this is one of my all-time favorite albums of all time. One of my top 10, and it's up in the upper echelon.
But you know what can really be said about right there?
That pretty much sums it up.
You can put those in a whole bunch of different orders and they'll all be right.
Yeah. You're right.
Okay, maybe you would take In Reverse out.
Well,
how about that?
To be honest, Todd, I would put In Reverse in that batch.
Okay.
If it would be remastered where it wouldn't bother me, it'd be fine. Like I said, I'm being awfully hard on it, and I don't mean to be hard on it. But I had to put it somewhere.
Right.
And to be honest, so that's the one, because of the sound, I'd listen to it least.
Well, that's why I put Modern Art at the bottom, is because something had to go on the bottom.
Right. So there you go.
I do want to say that my outlook on Matthew Sweet has changed in recent years. For a really big chunk of my life, from 2003 on, I felt like, is that right? When did Living Things come out?
90.
It's not
was
printed
it 97? Not 2000. Wait a minute.
2004.
2004.
I felt like the thing that I used to say about Matthew Sweet, I felt like after 2004, I used to say he lost his muse. He forgot, and that's harsh. I thought, he forgot how to make records. He needs help making records. And to an extent, I sort of still feel that way, but I have grown to really appreciate his later material.
I mean, if you look at the crap that's out now.
Yeah. And that's
all his stuff's brilliant.
That's part of it.
I don't want to be hard on him, but I mean, he can still bring it home.
He does it all himself. He's self-financing. So,
I mean, I love it.
I'm sorry I ever said that about him. I'm sorry I ever said he lost his muse. It's rough, but
like I said, John Lennon said you can't be 25 forever. So,
that's
correct. The fact that he's this far into his career and can just as a legacy musician, he can put out such high quality material. I just hope others will get turned on to him and give Matthew some love.
Me too.
You know. Well, kids, I guess that's it. Well, if anyone's watching, well, of course, no one's watching right now. Expect to see more from Todd and I, because I can guarantee we'll be doing the Matthew Sweet tracks. We'll be doing, I like to do the under the covers and look at those.
Yeah.
And you mentioned maybe the EPs.
Mm-hmm.
We could maybe combine that. I
Like
don't know.
extra
We'll
songs.
talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But look forward to that.
I'll be interested to see what your top 10 songs list is, because I think we're going to have a lot of the same ones.
Well, that's going to be a lot easier than ranking the records.
Yeah.
Because
it won't take as long.
My top 10 right. My top 10 songs are, I mean, that's easy for me. I can pull them right out like that. Because I've had those forever and they haven't really changed. But I will go back and listen to everything and reevaluate everything. But I think that'll be fun.
I do too.
And then, hey, now it sounds like we'll do a Lloyd Cole, which will be phenomenal.
Sure. Yeah.
And like I said, on my channel, I want to hit stuff that people normally don't hit. People are always hitting Black Sabbath, Rush. Well, I am going to do a Rush one, but we're going to do Rush instrumentals. So that's kind of trying to take this channel to different artists. I'd like to, up and coming, I'd like to do we've talked about it, doing like the second British invasion, which we can talk about Thompson Twins, Duran Duran, Howard Jones, Culture Club, that whole second wave of British invasion artists. Love to hit that. Give those artists some love, because there was some great stuff. Culture Club, Color My Numbers. Holy crap, that's a great record. And people don't talk about Culture Club. They think it's Boy George all being, but my God, as a vocalist in that band, Color My Numbers was a great record. So hopefully we'll look at that down the road. Hopefully you like, subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this. Todd and I are going to discuss our next Matthew Sweet, what we're going to cover next. Please, if you see any Matthew Sweet in the used bins, or if you see it out there, go to Amazon. Check it out. Go to Spotify and listen to Matthew Sweet.
If you want physical copies of these records, they're easy. Most of them are easy to find. Mm-hmm. So,
but Matthew needs love, and I'm glad I can put this out there, because I'm not sure who else is doing it. But anyway, thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, Grant. Thanks for having me.
It was fun. We will do this again. Good night, everybody.
Good night.